This is Game Night with Josh Hinnick.
Let's go!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hinnick.
After the President's Day weekend, we're still working here at 97.3 ESPN. No offense to the U.S. presidential history, but we still came to work because we got sports to talk about here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up in less than 20 minutes, I'll do a deeper look into the NFL offseason with Andy McNamara joining me here on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And, you know, the two main topics I came out of this weekend when it comes to sports is, number one, I don't know if the NBA knows what they're doing, because literally they created a product that I don't know how many people actually watched. And on the flip side, I'm trying to be realistic here. I'm surprised it was only 4.4 million average who watched USA versus Canada on Saturday night. That was the one big takeaway I had out of the weekend. The other takeaway I have had out of the weekend is, man, I really miss the NFL. And it's not even because I miss the games literally as much. I just miss the fact of knowing that I have a reliable product that I can flip on and know that I'm getting quality from it. For as much as a person like myself loves sports, and I watch almost anything and everything I can get my hands on, it was to the point where I spent part of my Sunday waiting for the Daytona 500 to actually have a race and stop crashing and having rain delays. Because the Genesis Open did nothing for me. College basketball was mostly Saturday, not Sunday. And I got to be honest, I spent most of my Saturday away from TVs, right? I was down in Seattle at the Mike Seafood Run Walk for Autism. If you go to 973ESPN.com, you can see that they had record attendance, record of fundraising event in Seattle, and Jason Kelsey made a surprise appearance. All the details at 973ESPN.com and the 973 ESPN mobile app. But because I spent a huge chunk of my day down there, a lot of my day was on the road. And when I finally did sit down at a local establishment to watch sports, it was USA versus Canada hockey on Saturday night. And apparently I was not the only one. ESPN NBA front office insider Bobby Marks admits he was even watching the hockey instead of NBA All-Star weekend festivities.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I was glued Saturday night to USA versus Canada instead of watching the slam dunk contest and a three-point contest. Now, the big question is, can you go to a USA versus World type format? Or maybe, Brian, we rotate every non-Olympic year, we rotate USA versus World, or maybe we go back to East versus West here. But they should put a lot of pressure as far as what we saw on Saturday night in that USA-Canada game.
I frankly don't know if that's the answer for the NBA either. Because I think the problem for the NBA, it's not just the format. The problem with the NBA is I don't think the players are genuinely invested in what the fans want to see. I think that there is a very, very intense. There is, and when I say this, I know I'm going to offend somebody, so I totally understand that some of you are going to take this the wrong way, okay? But I'm just going to say it anyway. The NBA's problem is that the players don't understand that if the fans don't care, it doesn't matter how great they are. The NBA has tried to treat their product like it is a we can't lose, we're too big to lose model. And it's not just a ratings issue, okay, because there has been a ratings decline with the NBA. The larger problem with the NBA product, as you saw this weekend, was the fact that the NBA was trying to tap into the more mainstream pop culture, casual fan demographic. And they pretty much ignored the real NBA fans. And I'm sure there were some people who, when they saw LeBron say that he wasn't going to play, they were wondering, why should I watch? Seriously. They are wondering why they should watch if one of the best players on the planet is not playing. And the reality is that it's not that hockey is a better product than the NBA, okay? I'm not one of those people, all right? But I understand from watching football why football is a too big to fail business, where the NBA is starting to have problems and where the NHL has saved themselves. And it's because at the end of the day, the NFL players understand where their bread is buttered. I don't think NBA players understand that. The NFL has become a multi-billion-dollar net profit business because they have leaned into the fact that they know what makes money. In the NFL, the teams are more valuable than the players. The team like the Dallas Cowboys has this crazy value despite the fact that their owner is football-wise illiterate. Business-wise, he's a genius. You can't do that model in the NBA because you see what happens on a weekend like this, where even a person whose job is to watch the NBA admits on national television on ESPN's Get Up this morning, Bobby Marks said, I was watching USA versus Canada. Because the NBA model has become something that is not easy to consume. And I thought Evan Cohen made an interesting point this morning on Sportsmanlike, as heard here on 97.3 ESPN.
LeBron James has hurt All-Star Weekend because he does not participate in the dunk contest or never did, so anyone after him never thought that they had to because it wasn't like this rite of passage. And he's never really been overly competitive in the All-Star game like his predecessors were. And then last night, doesn't play and doesn't give them a heads up on not playing. So there was no replacement.
It's a very interesting point because if the best players in the world don't care about your product, if the best players in the world don't care about the game, why should the fans care? I mean, you heard Ernie Johnson, if you actually watched the end of the broadcast last night, you heard Ernie Johnson basically tell Adam Silver at one point to shut up, let me do this sponsor read, because the only reason we're here is because of these sponsors, right? And then he goes the Kia sponsor, and then he tells the commissioner of the NBA, okay, now you can give the trophy away. Like, that's where the NBA is at. They are now completely beholden to the people who are giving them money. The advertisers and the TV networks. They are not beholden to the fans. Because at the end of the day, the NBA has found out, that basically, because the players are not doing what's best for the league consistently, the league is going to do what's best to stay profitable. And for them, it is being beholden to the television networks and to the sponsors. And if the television networks and the sponsors want the All-Star game or want the in-season tournament or want whatever, they're going to get it. And you, the fan, doesn't matter because the NBA player as a whole doesn't care about the fan the way NFL players do. Because the NBA player says, I'm making all this guaranteed money. And the NFL player is like, well, I'm not making that money, so I got to make money elsewhere. You look at a guy like Jason Kelce. For as popular and as famous as Jason Kelce is, according to Forbes, his net worth is not even $50 million. There are people in the NBA who have made 4 times Jason Kelce's financial worth, who you don't even know who they will be when their careers are over. And that is really where the problem is with these sports. And that is, we are now at a point where people like me are saying, I don't care about the NBA. I could care less. I want to talk football. And that's why when this comment was made this morning on Get Up on ESPN television, it kind of made me step back when Dan Graziano said this.
Vaughn and Becton, you mentioned, were guys they got cheap last year because they looked at them and said, well, they're not making it where they are. What would they be for us? So if they re-sign Mekhi Becton and Zach Bond, they're not going to get them as cheaply as they got them. So they got to find at other positions next year's Zach Bond and Mekhi Becton. That's how you sustain this success. You get contributions from guys that you don't have to pay big cap charges to.
And this is where, here on 97.3 ESPN, we talked about it on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, and we're continuing the conversation here with me, Josh Hennig, live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios of Atlantic City. When you look at the Eagles offseason, there is no way they can bring back everyone. Not just because of financial implications, but because a lot of these guys are going to hit free agency and they're going to get big-time offers. And I'm writing an article right now on 973ESPN.com that will come out a little bit later tonight. If you got the 973 ESPN mobile app, you'll get the alert later tonight. And that is, you have a Eagles roster that has a handful of players that are going to be the most difficult decisions for the Eagles. For example, Darius Big Play Slay has said he wants to play one more year in Philadelphia. But the problem is his contract is going to restrict him from playing for Philadelphia next year. So unless Slay and the Eagles can come to an agreement on a restructured contract, there is no way he can be on this team next year and they can afford to keep Zach Bond and others. And of the 15 unrestricted free agents, we're going to assume that only half of them are coming back. I have already made the assumption here on 97.3 ESPN multiple times. I expect Josh Sweat to be gone. And I would not be shocked if Milton Williams was gone too. And that leaves Becton and Bond as the next 2 big names. Smaller names like Avonte Maddox, they're probably gone. Who really knows? Some of the backup offensive linemen, your Fred Johnsons of the world, if they come back or not, that's really up to them, what the market calls for. But this is where I do agree with Harry Douglas. The priority needs to be Zach Bond above all else.
Zach Bond, the linebacker, the guy who made All-Pro. You talk about a guy that was great in coverage, but not only great in coverage, but second in the National Football League in run stops. So Zach Bond is a guy that was a hidden gem for them. Shout out to Howie Roseman. We know how great he's been from a general manager standpoint. So Zach Bond is a guy I feel like they must sign back.
609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll dig deeper into the NFL offseason. What are the priorities? What are the expectations? Andy McNamara joins us next on 97.3 ESPN.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Can't wake up without it.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Stay warm and worry-free this winter with Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. From expert repairs to system replacements, Broadlee's has you covered for all your plumbing and heating needs. Join their Family Comfort Plan for priority service and exclusive repair savings every time you call. Ready to upgrade your HVAC system or water heater? Broadlee's offers free quotes and 0% financing up to $25,000 for 7 years. Broadlee's, your local factory authorized Bryant dealer. Give them a call at 609-390-3907.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Hi, I'm Paul. Welcome to Circle.
It's Circle Hyundai's President's Day sale all month long.
Lease or finance this 2025 Santa Fe all-wheel drive SEL for only $47 down.
Wow, only $47 down with approved Tier 1 credit.
You can even get a 2025 Hyundai Tucson, Hyundai Kona, and even the Hyundai Palisade for just $47 down.
All new Circle Hyundais are backed by America's best warranty, 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty, and Hyundai Assurance.
Check us out at CircleHyundai.com or stop by. We are located in Shrewsbury off of exit 109 on the Garden State Parkway.
Don't miss Circle Hyundai's President's Day sale all month long, where you can lease or finance a 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe, Hyundai Tucson, Hyundai Kona, or Hyundai Palisade for just $47 down. Circle Hyundai, family owned and operated.
Don't forget, $47 down.
Circle Hyundai, making our mark, giving everyone a square deal.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Romanelli's Garden Cafe in Galloway is now 279 Social Kitchen and Craft Bar. The countdown to their grand opening on February 21st is on. Join them for a huge celebration featuring live entertainment, signature cocktails, chef-inspired bites, and exclusive specials. Plus, enter to win a $100 dining experience at 279social.com. Get ready for an unforgettable experience of bold flavors and great company. See you soon at 279 Social Kitchen and Craft Bar.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NBA, the Sixers will be back from the All-Star break on Thursday as they take on the Boston Celtics. The Sixers entered the break on a 5-game losing skid. They'll play their next 3 games at home. Boston, the number 2 team in the East, has won 7 of their last 8 games. The Flyers, they return from the midseason break Saturday. They'll take on the Edmonton Oilers. Philadelphia entered the break dropping 5 of 6. The league's 4-nation face-off tournament continuing tonight. The United States will take on Sweden and Boston in round-robin play. Major League Baseball, the Phillies holding their first full squad workout today in Clearwater. Grapefruit League schedule will begin on Saturday for the Phillies. They'll take on the Detroit Tigers. One other baseball note, Yankees slugger Giancarlo Stanton may miss opening day due to tendonitis in both of his elbows. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The wind chill will drop very close to the danger zone the next 2 nights. The combination of cold and wind can be brutal on the human body. Bundle up and take care of yourself out there. Mainly clear tonight, low of 20, the wind chill near 0. Still breezy tomorrow, little calmer, sun and clouds, high of 28, wind chill in the teens. Calmer winds Wednesday, cloudy with a high of 30, chance of snow late day Wednesday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check back in the text board in just a bit. Jeff from Ocean City, Steve in Ventnor, as well as Paul in Ocean City, all chiming in at 609-403-0970. Right now, let's do some NFL offseason conversation. Because at the end of the day, Andy McNamara, not even a Canadian like you even cared about the hockey game on Saturday night. How you doing, my friend?
Good, buddy. How are you? Yeah, you know what? I saw the highlights of the fights, but I'm not that big of a hockey guy. So people are like, did you? I'm like, yeah, I saw I like fights. I used to get the Rock'em Sock'em Don Cherry VHS tapes when I was young, but you know, I'm just so honed in on football, brother, that the hockey stuff is just peripheral for it. It's just background noise.
So here's what I want to start with you, because I was watching ESPN's Get Up this morning, and you know, Dan Graziano, he's one of the best, more like, you know, even keel guys who cover the league, right?
Yeah, I like
you know, he's not one of these, you know, crazy hot takey, you know, look at me, I'm saying something, you know, guys. And I thought he made a very interesting point about three names, Andy. Three names that he says keep an eye on as salary cap casualty candidates. All right? I'm going to play the audio for you, and I want us to hit on each one of these three names. And yes, one of them is an Eagle. All right? Here we go.
It's also the time of year when veterans who we've associated with certain teams for a while start to get cut for cap reasons. A couple of names to keep an eye on for various reasons. Tyler Lockett in Seattle is a guy who's coming close to the end of a contract. Darius Slay with the Eagles has a big cap number this year. They're going to have to work something out if they want to keep him around. And Joey Bosa with the Chargers.
So three interesting names there. Let's start with the Eagles one for our audience, okay? Now, I did a little research. Darius Slay, he is basically the way his contract works is he has a fat number at the big, they kick the can down the road like Kyrie Roseman always does.
Yeah.
But if they restructure it, Andy, he basically is on a 1-year, $13 million deal, and there's no damage to the cap or anything. So if both sides come to an agreement, it's there. The problem is that it makes sense for Philadelphia to give a guy of Slay's age $13 million for a swan song season.
And he's what, 34, 33?
I think 34, he's turning 34. Oh, he just turned 34, yeah.
Yeah, he was born New Year's Day. How about that? Okay. Yeah, so 34. Look, I think it's a case where, is he necessarily the player he was? Yeah, 5 years. No. But is he still damn good? Yes. And I think if you're a defending Super Bowl champ, if you can make it work, right? If he's asking something ridiculous, you let him go. And, you know, if you're an Eagles fan, you have confidence that Howie Roseman figures it out as a replacement. But heck, why not? Like, you keep to me, as long as they're hungry, as long as they have the right attitude still, and they know that in that building, you keep the band together for the return. You keep the band together. You keep those key guys there. And Slay is one of those key players. Doesn't mean you don't prep for the future. Doesn't mean Howie Roseman shouldn't draft a corner, right, at some point and try to make sure you have in case of injury, whatever. But if the money makes sense, I'd bring him back in a heartbeat and not think 2 seconds about it.
Well, the reason why I like what you said about, you know, if it's working, why break up what's working is because they purposely went to Slay this past offseason and said, can we put your locker next to Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean so you can mentor those guys? And he said, absolutely. And he has even joked on the Big Play Slay podcast about how, these are my kids. He looks at Mitchell and DeJean as his children. And like when Cooper DeJean had that interception for a touchdown, who were the two guys who ran the Cooper DeJean? Slay and Saquon. These are obviously, this is part of the leadership of this team.
Yeah.
I don't want to take the youngest defense in football, right, and make them younger just because you couldn't bite a little bit extra out of the apple for one more year with Slay. Because remember, he has said he almost played 13 years in the NFL, and that is it. Next year will be his 13th year.
So there you go. And he finishes an Eagle. And with that type of leadership, like Josh, you want that to get out of the room? You want that to get out of the room? Why? Keep that in there. As long, again, if end of the year the skills and he just tanked, oh man, he's toast. That's not the case. That's not the case with him at all. Why not bring it back, man? Like, the window is open. You just won the Super Bowl. It's still wide open. Your quarterback's 26 years old. It's wide open. Why mess with that if the money makes sense? And if the personality makes sense, and it sounds like it all makes sense with Slay. There's going to be some guys that it doesn't, right? Probably on the defensive line. But with a guy like Slay, no. I think you got to keep him around.
Because also, man, my assumption has been, I think Josh Sweat is gone. You and I have talked about this, right? Where
Yep.
Sweat is gone. I'm assuming Milton Williams is gone just because of the fact that, you had the best year of your career sack-wise, 5 sacks.
Passion.
He's probably going to be getting a really nice offer on the free agent market from somebody, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
And the Eagles have done a good job of kind of backloading that position. They have Moro Ajomo, they have Thomas Booker, they have some bodies who can, be some backups, and of course Howie drafts guys randomly.
It's a deep year for D tackle.
And it's a deep year.
Good looking draft for D tackle. So yeah, let somebody, if he say, hey, I want to be a part of this thing, keep going, you make a deal that makes sense, go. But it's often a situation, and rightfully so, don't blame the player for it, where it's like, hey man, my stock's probably never going to be higher. I got career stats. I'm on a Super Bowl team. Ka-ching, let's go to the bank. I don't blame him. I do too. So it's like, but to Howie Roseman's skill set is then he's able to backfill that, and you keep that going, right? Like, what was it during the first Super Bowl? Oh, was it Fletcher Cox, whatever? I remember there was just like, the Eagles keep having this wonderful rotation of vet, star, and youth that come in, and you just keep that Eagles mindset. You keep that culture, generation after generation, it seems, of player. And that's something that you can't take lightly. So I feel for, like they'll be able to still have that locker room whether those guys are gone or not.
Because I'm not trying to dismiss Milton Williams as we
No.
talk with Andy McNamara here on 97.3 ESPN, Andy MC81. But my thing is, as I said before you came on, Andy, Zach Bond's the priority. Bond's number one. And Sweat and Williams, I can replace those guys. I've already seen what happens when TJ Edwards leaves in free agency, right? And you didn't offer him a contract, right? I've seen this story before. And I think we all can agree Zach Bond had a better year in 2024 than TJ Edwards had in 2022. And we saw how that impacted this team. I feel like Bond is the guy you got to keep.
Yeah,
I can find D linemen because they always do. It's the Eagles thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't even tell you the last time they drafted a linebacker. I think it was Jordan Hicks. I think Jordan Hicks is the last linebacker they drafted.
Oh wow!
And that was like 2014 or 15 in the second round. So
now he's on the Browns.
Right. But the point is that like
he gets injured. Yeah.
Well, he always gets injured. It's a problem. That's why he's not here. So
Yeah.
it's like this organization does not have a great track record of drafting linebackers in the last 25 years, okay? I mean, it's the entire 25 years. I mean, we've had guys like Barry Gardner get drafted. Oh, he's going to be somebody. Not, So I trust this organization to find the D lineman, but you got to keep Zach Bond at all costs, and I would keep Darius Slay just to have the veteran leadership, because if I'm going to...
And he's still good. He's not bad.
Andy, you made a great point. You said, hey, this is a deep draft for defensive tackles. So you know what that means? More young players on an already young team.
Yeah.
So you don't want to lose every veteran on the team just because you're like the Cowboys, right? And we're all in, and no one knows what you're all in for.
Yeah, I'm all in for what? What are we all in for, Jerry? Oh, how about that kid Dallas offseason? What is going to happen there? Theater. Nobody knows. Jerry doesn't know.
Nope.
Jerry's guessing as much as we are right now, I'm sure. Who are you going to draft? Who's free agency? The answer last year was nobody. The answer was nothing. So maybe it's a Seinfeld episode. It's a team about nothing, an offseason about nothing. Who knows?
So let's tell them the other two names that Graziano mentioned that were interesting. The Tyler Lockett thing is fascinating to me because Seattle is kind of in this weird situation, right? Where they're not really a Super Bowl contender. They're kind of like that in between, right? And so it's like, does removing Tyler Lockett from the conversation and then making it just about DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba, is that enough?
Well, and remember, too, you can get younger and draft another wide receiver as well, right? Like DK Metcalf is an absolute monster. I don't have to tell you that. I think he's sculpted. He's amazing. Jackson Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State, sensational. So you got 2 stars there. Why pay a declining asset? Nothing against Ty Lockett personally. I'm sure he's a great guy. But for a 5'10", 32-year-old receiver whose stats have gone down significantly over the past 2 seasons. It's over. Get rid of him. Save the money. Draft a rookie and whatever round you want. Somebody you like. Doesn't have to be, just like Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't have to be the guy right away. He could be eased into that and was. Draft another receiver you like, you think have upside, and there's splattered across this draft. Pick him, take him, keep moving along. You talk about the Eagles drafting defensive linemen well. Seattle drafts wide receivers the last few years real well. So I think you just go that round. Ty Lockett, I'll probably hang on to somewhere, but I wouldn't be surprised if 2025 might be his last year.
If you are looking at the landscape of the league, where do you think Tyler Lockett would land?
Boy, Josh, he's just a rotation guy now. Like, he doesn't excite me at all. I don't think he brings much. He's a third guy now on a team. He's a third, fourth guy. I honestly don't think it matters where he ends up, really. I think he's going to be a professional, maybe for a young locker room. Again, maybe show some leadership. But this isn't going to be a number 1 or a number 2. And if he is, your team's not very good. So I don't think it matters, to be honest with you. Like, he's not going to go to the Eagles. Not going to go to Commanders. Browns, I'm not interested in. Like, someone will take a chance on him. And it's not like he's terrible. He's just nothing special. And what we have to realize, again, is each year in these drafts, you get studs ready to play or with upside that could be ready to play soon at cheaper rates, rookie deals. I bet you I can find you somebody when we dig in deeper in the 3rd round, wide receiver with a 3rd round grade, who can give me 600 yards and 2 touchdowns.
See, there's a team you haven't mentioned that I think is the most obvious landing spot for him.
Who?
And it's with a coach who was a former college wide receiver, who is a head coach who calls his own plays. And it's a guy that you know because he coached in Cleveland at one point, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers.
Okay.
Because what Shanahan, people don't remember this, but Shanahan became famous or infamous, depending on who you ask, for demanding his receivers have great technique and great footwork.
Yes.
And
he
so
is sound.
for a veteran like Tyler Lockett, he could be the guy who fills the void of Debo leaving, and now Ayuk is the one receiver, right? And you have guys like Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings already in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Now he can be the veteran guy who he doesn't have to play all the downs, right? But he could be that possession receiver for a team that's got a lot of explosive studs, but they have no guys who catch the ball on 3rd and 6.
Yeah, that could be. I was thinking when you were saying that too, maybe what about with Pete Carroll in Vegas? Steady force of a new regime with the Raiders, right? You need a nice steady. That's the whole thing with the Raiders. It is a steadying force, right? And I think we'll see what they do at quarterback with Pete Carroll. And that's why I think Russell Wilson probably ends up there.
Yeah.
You see that organization needs a reset. It needs like a 2-year, hey, let's settle down, let's build a foundation and go up and steady it. And Lockett could be a nice steadying force at the wide receiver group for the options we just listed. Could make sense in San Francisco too, though, yeah.
And then the other name you mentioned was Joey Bosa. And I feel like Joey Bosa's name comes up like every couple of years because I feel like the Chargers are constantly like in this like death cycle of like salary cap stuff, and it's like Bosa's like in that. I hate to say it this way, but doesn't he feel like he's starting to turn into a little bit, not literally this guy, but he's turning into a little bit like Jadeveon Clowney at this point in his career, where he's like, is he ever going to be as good as we thought he could be, kind of thing?
Or healthy enough.
Right. And it's like, if you're the Chargers, like, what value does he have to you anymore? Because he's never playing. You know what I mean? Whereas, like,
he hasn't hit double-digit sacks since 2021, Josh. We're talking 2022, 5 games. 2023, 9 games. 14 last year, but only had 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles.
That's nothing.
No, and it's not like 14 games is deceptive because he wasn't fully healthy for a lot of those either. So how much are you going to pay for name recognition if you're the Chargers, who, with Harbaugh, have fresh life? You got your quarterback. You need some stars. You definitely need some stars on offense. That's for sure. You need some impact receivers on the Chargers. But then on that defense too, like, I guess the other option, Josh, is if you don't bring Bosa back, it's always that question. If you let player X go, who do you replace with? Do you have an option that's better? And the Chargers are notoriously cheap as well. So are you going to not pay Joey and you're going to get a younger guy? I think if you can, you do that. Is it somebody you find in the draft? Again, D-line's deep. Now, the tackle position is deeper than the edge rush position, but could I find a guy who will cost me a lot less, not with the career high upside of a Joey Bosa, but who could get me between 5 and 7 sacks that Joey Bosa has had the last 2 years? I bet you I could.
Or how about this? Okay, because if you cut Bosa, it's a $25 million cap savings. Okay, if he was on the roster next year, he accounts for 13% of the cap. Well, what if the Chargers become the landing spot for Myles Garrett, right? Like, what if the Chargers get rid of Bosa and then be like, well, now we have all this cap room, we can just absorb Myles Garrett.
So the thing is, here's what the Browns, now I say will do. These guys completely go against common sense, so who the heck knows? Okay, it drives me insane, as you know. But here's the thing. If they trade Myles Garrett today, there's a dead cap hit for the Browns of about $36 million on top of already between 26 and 30 mil, depending what website you look on. So already, if you trade Myles Garrett today, you're approaching $70 million in dead cap money. That's ludicrous. So what would have to happen, I believe, is that you'd have to work out sort of an NBA style sign and trade, where it's, let's say, your Chargers example of, all right, Chargers, you want him? We got all the compensation worked out. We're going to sign Myles Garrett, re-sign him to X contract because he's going to become the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, which leads you to believe the Chargers probably won't sign him. But if, for that example, Browns sign him to that, then you trade it, dead cap problem solved. You still get the compensation, and the contract is agreeable to the team that is getting Myles Garrett. So I think that's what has to happen, because otherwise, how can you have 70 mil in dead cap? Which means they'll do it.
All right. So before I let you go, and I'm kind of like appropriating, so please bear with me for a second.
Okay.
So I thought of you today because I was listening to Ross Tucker's podcast with Emery Hunt. And Emery Hunt came up with the idea where he said that he wants the Browns to get a veteran quarterback and draft a rookie, so the rookie can just sit for a year or two, right? You know, talk about this.
Yeah.
But which veteran would Andy McNamara prefer? Bring back Jameis because he already knows the offense, or bring in Kirk Cousins and hope that his 20 injuries are healed?
I would say, and it would take a medical first, because could he always get re-injured? Yes. But if Kirk Cousins comes into the building and you test him out, first thing I'm doing is I'm having him do a few play action plays. Can you roll out? He wasn't doing that in Atlanta. Was that because the offense didn't want it, or because he couldn't do it off of that Achilles? Then you have the shoulder and elbow. So if he comes in and he's 37, looking spry, he's juking around, okay, looks pretty good, then I would take the chance on Kirk Cousins, because the Stefanski work along in relationship from Minnesota, you'd be able to get him. And remember, Josh, the bad thing is with Cleveland is it is all about on the cheap. What's the deal? Because Deshaun Watson's dead cap, salary cap, current cap, and it's all lumped in. So you can't go get, if I wanted Sam Darnold desperately and he's going to get paid 10 mil, I can't have him. So I have to hope that the Falcons would cut him, and you do the Russell Wilson deal, and then you sign Cousins to, I think it's 1.22 mil or something.
Right.
So I would much rather take a chance on Kirk Cousins, because I know exactly what I have with Jameis, and he's fun, and it was one of the few bright spots of fun in this Brown season for me. the guy throws too many interceptions, man. That's just how it is. What do I want Jameis Winston for? I'd rather take a chance on an upside of a healthy Kirk Cousins with whoever the draft pick is, hopefully Will Howard, and then you go from there. That would be my preference, my top pick of Kirk Cousins doing it, because I like Jameis, be a social guy, get out of the league, have some fun, man. He's so entertaining.
I mean, I got to tell you, as we get closer and closer to the actual start of the new league year, the more I think Sam Darnold is getting franchise tagged. I really do. I really am starting to get the feeling from everything I'm seeing and hearing that the Vikings, I don't think the Vikings are sold that J.J. McCarthy is going to be healthy to start for next year. And I think that they would rather have the insurance policy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was just trying to look up it's got over 30 mil, I'm sure. The salary tag for.
I think it's 35 or 40.
Yeah, something like that. It's definitely in that range. It's certainly not less than that. So that would be interesting, because then that starts a bit of a domino effect, because then they have
quarterback is $41 million.
Start throwing the ball, kids. Holy cow. My son's 10. I gotta get him to start throwing. Holy 41 mil for a year, Mike. And then someone will complain about it.
No, it's for quarterback though. I have each position here. It's like, for example, if the Bengals franchise T. Higgins, it's $25 million.
Yeah, I think it's like the average of the 5 highest salaries or something like
Correct.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. So quarterback, fine. What that means though is that Daniel Jones would, in theory, likely become available. Not that he'd be commanding a huge payday. Maybe they keep both. But you'd think it would be Sam Darnold, you see J.J. McCarthy, and you go from there, which means Daniel Jones would be open. Now, Daniel Jones, interesting in parts, but Josh, every time I think, I'm like, yeah, he can move. Then I remember he didn't throw a touchdown for like 2 months, right? That's just how it is. So am I excited? Like, Daniel Jones is on the cheap list for the Browns, potentially. I think he could potentially run the offense for Kevin Stefanski. Maybe getting out of New York like Sam Darnold will help him. Or maybe he still sucks. That's also a very real possibility. So, and then also what you have is not that sort of stable, like, all right, I know Kirk Cousins, he's not, I got to know what it is. Daniel Jones, we have no idea. And maybe does that force you to, if you draft the guy, put him in a bit too soon, right? Potentially. So there's a bit of a gamble there. Also, what about Jimmy Garoppolo? It's been under, I think, 2 years under the guys of with the LA Rams with Sean McVay, lots of injury issues, but that guy's touchdown to interception ratio and win percentage is unmatched with any other available quarterback in this season, in this offseason. It's amazing. The problem, of course, with Jimmy is he really can't stay healthy, but his 2 years away of sitting and being healthy, does that help? Jimmy Garoppolo could be a dark horse name to watch out for.
My only problem with Jimmy is I think that he is going to enter the era of his career when he needs to be a dome quarterback. He's the kind of guy that I don't know if the elements in him are going to get along anymore.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, whereas like, people forget that Jimmy was even injured in New England. Like he had 3 games.
Jacoby took over. Yeah.
Right. So, there's problem looks at Jimmy G, and I'm just like, yeah, he's got to go somewhere with a controlled environment.
Maybe New Orleans if they move on from Derek Carr. I don't know. I'm not saying it's exciting, but it's in a dome.
I'll tell you this: Kellen Moore is interviewing everyone on the Eagles coaching staff to be his OC right now, and it's like hilarious because like literally every single guy he's interviewing has a completely different like way they would probably like run the offense with him. So it's like. Who knows what the real plan is in New Orleans? I generally think that Derek Carr will start next year, and then they'll be done with him.
Yeah,
because they'll probably draft the quarterback kind of thing. He'll be the project for a year, and then they'll let him be starter. But yeah, I am fascinated, about the whole where some of these quarterbacks go, because my mind always goes back to the Josh Freeman story, like how remember Josh Freeman had that one monster year in Tampa.
Yes.
And then he fizzled. And then he goes to Minnesota and he has that one game, it was like Thursday Night Football. And you're like, holy Toledo, Josh Freeman is back. And then he completely fizzles out. And I always look at these guys like the Daniel Joneses and got all these Jimmy Garoppolo's. Everybody that wonders like, Is this guy just going to go somewhere, have that one big game, and then just fizzle? You know what I mean?
Well, he very well could. But let's look at the other. Here's the thing: if you need a veteran quarterback, with the plan now, of course, of you don't want to start. If you don't want to start your rookie right away,
plan.
If you got the plan, or you think you got the plan, Sam Darnold we talked about. Okay, how about Zach Wilson? Ooh, hard no. Trey Lance. Trey Lance still doesn't play. He still hasn't played enough football since high school.
Andy, the fact that Kyle Shanahan shipped him out is the biggest negative against him.
What a lucky friend. And you got Brock Purdy. My God, just horseshoes. Jacoby Brissett is a win one, lose two guy. Great in the locker room. You don't want him to start. Taylor Heineke, he's one of your fizzle guys. Great game, out. Mariota's a backup. Drew Lock's a backup. Andy Dalton is another one of those veteran guys. Maybe get you, look good in a few spots at Carolina. Maybe could be somebody that could get you a few games and go while you have the rookie set. I'm actually not too down on Andy Dalton. Jarrett Stidham's a bum. Justin Fields can't read a defense. I like Joe Flacco. Winston throws interceptions. Mac Jones. It's Mac Jones. And Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is still there.
Mac Jones looks great in car commercials. That's what he looks great in.
Mac Jones, what a bum. Yeah, him and Zach
Although I
Wilson.
will say, that 3 weeks, he was a viable fantasy football option for a lot of people. Like, how crazy was that?
He did. And then by the time you're like, yeah, I'll take a chance at Mac Jones, then it was over. You're like, you know what? I'm in. And then done, of course. But like what I'm saying is the options are terrible. Cooper Rush, who we've talked about, Jimmy Garoppolo, Allen, Nick Mullins.
I gotta tell you real quick before I let you go. I feel like Mac Jones needs to go to either McVay or Shanahan. Like he needs to go to quarterback rehab at this point.
Oh, totally. Or Minnesota.
Because remember, this guy did go to the postseason his rookie year at the Patriots.
Still not.
I don't think he's a complete abomination. Like he's not Daniel Jones, where he doesn't throw a touchdown at all for like months at a time. You know,
Josh, let me tell you this: Mac Jones has nothing elite about him. Nothing. He's not exceptionally tall, fast, strong, smart, accurate. He is average. I said it at the time when he got drafted. I can find you a Mac Jones every year, Josh. Every year in the third round, no problem. Not an issue, Mac Jones. Every year. Why a first-round pick was just ridiculous. Because it was like, oh, he's the boring quarterback that fits with Bill Belichick. Well, yeah, you got him. He made you the playoffs, did a whole lot of nothing, and that's where he is. But there is nothing exceptional about Mac Jones. If you want, any of these guys.
Which is the exact reason why he'd be perfect to be Kyle Shanahan's backup quarterback in San Francisco.
Yeah, as a backup, sure. But anyone was like, give him a starting. Come on.
No. I'm saying I can see him being Brock Purdy's backup. That's what I can see Mac.
I think it's a great fit. I think that actually blend. You have the two blandest players in the league backing each other up. Tremendous. Holy plain yogurt. In San Francisco.
But both have great hair, Andy. They have great hair.
They got the hair. Give them that.
They got the hair. That's all that matters. He's
JJ
Andy
McCarthy.
McNamara.
It's Mac Jones with better hair.
Coming up on the next episode of
quarterbacks make me so mad, Josh. Oh my gosh. Because I'm jealous I don't have one.
At AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform, the Sick Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, like, subscribe, download. Andy, what's going on with the pod?
So tomorrow morning, it's going to be coming out. We are doing running back and quarterback draft prospect dive-in, comparing Kyle McCord to Will Howard. That's that second layer of quarterbacks coming out the wave. We have former high school coach out of Cleveland, who's a draft guru scout now, Lance Reisland, who's tremendous. He's on. We break down some film tape. Also, going through the running back class. We talk about deep draft classes, deep running back classes. So we go through 5-6 of the running backs, where they fall. So could be of interest to whatever team listeners are rooting for. Fantasy options as well.
Andy, appreciate you jumping on. Great conversation.
Oh, always love it, buddy. Talk to you later.
We'll get to the text board coming up next. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City.
College basketball on ESPN Radio. It's an ACC showdown in Charlottesville.
Step back, left wing three, high archer, good!
Sitting high atop the ACC standings, the Duke Blue Devils face the Virginia Cavaliers.
Here comes Flack, throwing it down.
Duke at Virginia. Coverage begins today at 7:30 Eastern, with tip-off at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
The college basketball season continues tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
What's your name?
Leonard Skinnard.
Girl.
Live in concert.
Sweet home.
Friday, May 30th, 9 p.m. Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort. Celebrating 50 years of Leonard Skinnard. Tickets on sale now at theoceanac.com. Leonard Skinnard.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 16, powered by Intel Core Ultra processors and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology to match your forward-thinking spirit and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
Same game parlays and slot games for days. Double the fun with the Bally Bet app. Let's play. You can bet on football, basketball, baseball, or play blackjack, roulette, even baccarat, y'all. It's double the fun, 2 apps in one. Download it today, but only if you're 21. The Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino app. You can win real money on your phone. No cap. Must be 21 plus, New Jersey only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino. Download it.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a Colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Winter is here. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the dark. Kelvy Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Kelvy Electric, the premier electrical contractor, serving South Jersey for over 110 years. Visit KelvyElectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
We're famous for our buffalo wings. The Piccalilli. When it comes to cooking wings, we're the king. The Piccalilli.
On game day, don't wing it. Take the trip to the Pick, South Jersey's king of the wing. Try their award-winning wings, tails, and ears in mild, spicy, or hot, or signature flavors like garlic parm, hot honey, Jim Beam maple, and more. For eat-in or takeout, get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock. Follow them on Facebook for events and game day specials.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All right, as promised, get your guys' thoughts and comments. Start with Jeff in Ocean City chiming in and says, who did we lose after Super Bowl 52 victory? I think it was a lot. Well, it wasn't a lot. It was like you lost Bo Allen to Tampa. LeGarrette Blount, you lost him in free agency. Brent Selleck retired. Those are the kind of guys you lost because they did try to retain a lot of guys. Remember Nick Foles? They brought him back on a one-year deal. So the problem in 2018 was injuries. They sustained a lot of injuries. Remember, they at one point were starting like guys off the street, basically, in that Saints game. They got blown out. So 2018 was less about who you lost from the year before. It was about the fact that just everyone got injured at one point, and it was completely deflating. Paul from Ocean City chimes in and says, Josh Bond has to be the top priority. Dean coming back from a major surgery just makes it even more important. Milton Williams should be a second priority. Maybe how he could work some magic and unload Josh Huff. The problem with Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff's problem is that I don't know if there is I gotta do a little more investigating in the Bryce Huff's contract if there's a back door to get out of it. Steve from Ventnor chimes in and says, keep Milton Williams. He's the youngest of the bunch. He can play as a steady pass rusher and run stopper. I would use the 32nd pick along with Pickett or McKee to get Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. Well, the Raiders have already said about trading Max Crosby. So Myles Garrett's going to take way more than that, Steve and Ventnor. So I appreciate the idea, but it's going to take a lot more than that to get Myles Garrett. John from Cape May says, Williams, Bond, Sweat may be eating because of Jalen Carter. Don't overpay players who are reaping the benefit of playing with Carter. I think that's part of the reason why I'm not crazy about losing Sweat is because I know that he has been a bit of a byproduct of playing next to Jalen Carter. Same thing with Milton Williams. I don't hate the idea of saying, hey, let's see what Maro Jomo can do, because that guy is a freakazoid as an athlete, as a D tackle, and you heard Andy McNamara say you can draft guys to replace Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. I'm not as worried about those guys as I'm about Bond. Good text. Appreciate the feedback from all of you guys out there. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Duke, Virginia coverage at 7:30 tonight. And I'll be back tomorrow following Mike Gill and the Sports Bash.
Rise and shine, Valentine, all month long.
For the YouTube-only crowd, thank you for hanging on. Like, subscribe, download, share with your friends. I just wanted to wrap up the conversation really quick by kind of hitting on what we started the show with, which was about, the NBA versus NHL issue. It's no coincidence that we still don't have the numbers, the official numbers from the TV ratings from the game last night. The All-Star weekend, you should already have the numbers for that. It shouldn't have taken this long to really get those numbers plastered everywhere. But it really has. And I think there's two major reasons why. I think the networks are really embarrassed by whatever the numbers is. There's no reason why the NHL and ESPN came out with their numbers almost immediately. And it's like this slow trickle of information coming out about the NBA. It's obvious that the networks are nervous, that they've spent so much money on this product and they're not getting a return on the investment. And I think that for the NBA, they have a huge problem on their hands. And this is how it relates to all of you who are viewers. At some point, every sports league is going to run into a problem. It's the problem the NHL ran into and they have rebounded from. And that is, the sports leagues are taking you, the fan, for granted. They are outpricing you out of the arenas. They are outpricing you out of watching the games. YouTube TV rates have gone up. Xfinity cable rate is going up. Hulu Plus Live Sports is going up. Sling TV is going up. Even the streaming platforms that were there for you to disconnect from cable and direct TV and the dish. All of these platforms going up because someone has to pay for these crazy packages, because we have the numbers, folks. We know the numbers show that the only thing you are watching on live television is sports. So now what is happening is that the world is turning into if you don't have sports, no one watches your product live. On Sunday night, okay? There is, and again, we are very slow trickle coming out about what the ratings are. But it's starting to look like that SNL's 50-year anniversary beat everyone on Sunday night. Now, there's a few reasons why that happened. The biggest reason is that the NBA has put out a product we don't care about. But the other problem is I am curious how much of the Daytona 500 drained into the viewership out there. Remember, historically, and I just want to give you a quick background and we'll wrap it up here. The Daytona 500 has historically been one of the most watched sporting events every year. Historically, that event has been a huge boom for Fox. Historically, like this year, the years that Fox has the Super Bowl and the Daytona 500 in the same year, those are Fox's two biggest properties every year. We already know that Fox had a huge win with Super Bowl 59. They had record viewership, they had record ratings, they had record everything across the board. So what they were trying to hope to do was parlay that success into the Daytona 500. And then rain happened. The rain probably killed the ratings for a lot of sporting events, boom and bust on Sunday. CBS probably benefited a little bit from having college basketball on, so people who watch the Daytona 500 could flip over to. But once the Daytona 500 went from being a race that started at 1 p.m. and didn't finish till after 8 p.m. Eastern because of multiple rain delays, multiple crashes, it ruined the viewing experience for you, the fan. Because the fan, wants what you want and you want it now. There's a reason why streaming has become the number one most watched property, because you can binge watch your shows and watch it on demand whenever you want. You want your live sports the way you want it. And the reason why the NHL succeeded this weekend and the NBA failed is because the NBA didn't give you what you want. So what are they doing? Now they're they're punishing you by giving you a mediocre NBA product, by making you pay more for YouTube TV, by making you pay more for Hulu Plus Live Sports, Sling TV, Xfinity, Direct TV, etc., etc., etc. Because what they're doing is they're saying, because the NBA is going to make, over a period of time, okay, I understand it's not immediate, but over a 10-year period, the NBA is going to make $76 billion, so about $7.6 billion a year, off their new TV contracts. ESPN, which is owned by Disney, how are they going to pay for that? They're going to make you pay for it. NBC. Who owns NBC? Xfinity. Comcast. Who's going to pay for that NBA contract? You are going to pay for that. TNT, their partnerships to get different properties. Who is TNT a part of? They're a part of Max, HBO, Turner Sports, Discovery, Warner Communications. Who is going to end up paying for their money that they're spending on live sports? You. So you have to understand that the reason why everything is going up, okay, because the idea is the same thing when it comes to anything in life. Follow the money. And if you follow the money, you'll realize that the reason why Disney Plus, Hulu, Max, YouTube TV, all these properties are becoming more expensive is because someone has to pay the piper. These networks are making their money still off of you. The reason why YouTube TV had a dispute with Paramount was because YouTube TV realizes they just raised the rate on everyone across the board for carrier rates. And they're already starting to see people very unhappy about that. YouTube TV was supposed to be the inexpensive option. Now they're starting, like Hulu Plus Live Sports, they're starting to enter that territory where they are now trying to find money somewhere, and they're going to make you pay for it. And so the NBA is in a situation where they realize that their money is not coming from the fans anymore. It's coming from the networks. It's coming from the advertisers. So now they are beholden to the networks and the advertisers, not to you, the fan. The NFL is different. The NFL still depends on you, the fan. The television money pays the players' salaries, but the money that comes from you for tickets, parking, concessions, that pays everything else. Your money does not pay the players in the NFL. Your money does not pay the players in the NBA. Your money does not pay any athletes anymore. The economic model comes from the television networks and the advertisers. You pay the salaries of the front office, the concessions people, the person who's working the ticket counter. Your money pays for those people's salaries. And that's what you got to remember moving forward. The only way you will dent these leagues is if you stop going to games. The question is, when does the NBA cross that Rubicon? When does the fan interest cross over into them losing money at the box office? And this is where the NHL comes in. This is where we're going to wrap it up here. The NHL made a huge mistake 20 years ago. The NHL, in their chutzpah and their ego, believed that they were too big to fail. They started to make weird decisions. They put a hockey team in Atlanta, which failed. They went ahead and left ESPN, their biggest distributor, to start their own network, which has really only been kept alive by the NHL pouring god-awful amounts of money into keeping that product alive. The NHL had this agreement with NBC that failed. They lost money. They lost viewership. They had 2 lockouts over that period of time because the players were saying, you keep acting like you have all this money. Why are you not giving us the money? So the players had to fight for their cut of the check, which the NBA has, which the NFL has, which Major League Baseball has. Eventually, Gary Bettman and the NHL had to admit, we are wrong, our ego got in the way. They crawled back to ESPN. They gave in to a Turner Broadcasting deal. They had to capitulate. But because they capitulated, the last 2 years, NHL ratings are up. NHL attendance has gone up. So while the NBA is going down, down, down like this in a steady trickle, but they don't care because they're making the money off the networks, the NHL realized we're losing money left and right. If we are going to grow, if we are going to have markets, what used to be Phoenix, now is Utah, survive. The Seattle Kraken, survive. Remember, there are multiple Canadian markets in the NHL. The NBA only has 1. Baseball only has 1. The NFL has none. The NHL desperately needs the TV and advertiser money because it's the only thing that is keeping teams like the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks and the Ottawa Senators alive. Franchises like Toronto and Montreal and Edmonton, they got a built-in fan base. They're not worried about those franchises. But what is keeping the Minnesota Wild above water? What is keeping the Nashville Predators alive? They got to get the fans back, and they did. So now why does the NHL have a peak of 5.2 million viewers on Saturday night on ABC? Because you, the fan, chose that over the trash that was NBA All-Star Saturday night. And the more that you vote by saying, I'm not going to pay for YouTube TV, the more you're going to vote by saying, I'm not going to go to these games. That is where the difference will be. And to Jeff from Ocean City chiming in on my YouTube channel, he says, I watch zero NBA, USA versus Canada, SNL 50. You don't know, Jeff, how many people I saw on social media say the same exact thing. He goes on to say, I can't watch NFL games on YouTube or Peacock. Sports ticket prices are out of control. Listen, for me, I only have YouTube TV for football season because I can watch everything I need to see with YouTube TV. But once football season is done, it loses its value. They don't give me as much flexibility and options during college basketball season. It's there, but it's not enough for me to get, oh, I have to have this, right? And if you have MLB TV, you don't need YouTube TV. You can watch the Phillies in other ways. The Peacock platform is eventually, and I'm not breaking any news here, okay? This is something I've discussed numerous times right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Peacock in the next 10 years will be absorbed in the Netflix and other property. You see what's going on with Hulu and Disney Plus. They're going to eventually merge those products, okay? Because it's going to cut down on operating costs for Disney, the corporate parent company. Disney Plus is a top 3 streaming platform. Hulu is not. Okay? Hulu is lagging behind, and they're trying to use the YouTube Plus Live Sports as what's going to make up the difference. The problem is, what they're going to do is they're going to do people like me, and they're going to say, well, if you want YouTube, if you don't want YouTube TV and want Hulu Plus Live Sports, now you got to pay this rate. I would lose my grandfathered-in rate, which I have for Disney Plus, for Hulu Plus Live Sports, and for ESPN Plus. I would lose my grandfather discount rate if I switch over. So now they're forcing you to make a choice. Peacock is literally there for the extension of Xfinity, Comcast, and NBC. Eventually, that's going to be merged into something else. I'm expecting it to be Netflix because Netflix is starting to... Netflix is still the number one streaming platform on the planet. And their expansion into the live sports entertainment platform is starting to steal people away from the other outlets. And the difference is that Peacock is going to lose. NBC, Peacock, Xfinity is going to lose more and more ground to Amazon. Because Amazon is creating better content. Netflix is creating better content. Apple TV is creating better content. Peacock, NBC is going to lose ground. So they're going to eventually be absorbed into somebody, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime. They're going to partner with one of them. Because Amazon Prime has stupid money. Like, Amazon Prime is an amazing business model. They are offering you streaming as part of your Amazon bundle. If you are someone who shops on Amazon a lot, you basically get the streaming for an extra few bucks a month, basically, if you break down the numbers. It's an incredible savings. They have basically cornered a market on an entire business model. Peacock doesn't have that anymore. Xfinity has become less and less valuable. The problem with YouTube is because regular YouTube is the number one streaming platform on the planet, they're the only platform that has more subscribers than Netflix. So YouTube TV is basically kind of like holding steady right now. Now, to Jeff's question about MLS. The problem with MLS, and let me take a drink real quick here, because I want to explain this before I get out of here. Because it's an incredibly valuable and valid question. MLS has adopted the NBA model to the detriment of their fans. They have taken the NBA model to the extreme. They have said, our fan base is not supplying enough money to offset how much money we need to make to pay the players to cover costs. So they're using the MLS Apple Plus contract to offset cost. So now, when, just use an example, Messi in Miami, right? You know, when all these international superstars are coming to MLS, the money is coming from Apple TV Plus, basically. And Apple TV Plus is saying, if you want to see the biggest players and stars in the world play in the MLS, you got to have Apple TV Plus. Because the MLS has, and the same thing is going to happen with another sport, and I'll tell you that in a second. MLS has realized that the money is not coming from the fans. MLS does not sell enough tickets. They do not sell enough merchandise, concessions, etc. to hold their business model. Okay? And it's a problem that is happening in other areas of the soccer world in Europe. If any of you have ever watched Welcome to Wrexham, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney basically bled millions of dollars before they ever made a profit with Wrexham. And it was to a point where their wives and their families were looking at them and saying, what on earth are you doing? Why are you spending all this money? Like, people were really making fun of them, saying, you know, normal men who have a midlife crisis, they buy a sports car. You bought a soccer team. And Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney lost a bunch of money, but ever made money with Wrexham, because they had to dig the franchise out of the abyss to get them to a certain level. Because in Europe, you don't make money unless you're at a certain level of competition, because that level of competition does what? They generate their revenue from the television and sponsors. So the reason why you see so many commercials for that coffee, what is it, Stock, I forget the exact name of it, is because companies like that, companies like the airline that they have a sponsorship with, right? Okay, it's all of these sponsors were helping to cover the cost of the players' salaries for Wrexham initially. Now that Wrexham has reached a certain level of competition, now the television networks and the big picture advertisers are now covering the cost of Wrexham. So for the first time in the entire time that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have owned the team, for the first 2 to 3 years, they lost tens of millions of dollars. Now, for the first time, they are in the plus financially. And so the MLS is now realizing that is the direction we're going in. You are not making money off the fans anymore. The fans don't have the money to offset cost of operation. That's why your game is not on PHL 17, because PHL 17, which is actually owned by it's the CW. So it's half owned by Warner Communications Broadcasting, is half owned by CBS. So the CW sports platform does not have the crazy money at their handed to them that they would a CBS Sports or a Turner Sports. It's kind of like a co-op venture. So the MLS now is depending on Apple to save them financially. And Apple is gambling that soccer is enough of a niche sport to draw people in. They're trying to do to the MLS what was done to the UFC. The UFC and MMA make more than half of their gross revenue every year because of television viewership. The pay-per-view model the UFC uses, the television partnership model that the PFL MMA uses, is the reason why they're able to pay their fighters. What doesn't get talked about enough, and all the criticism people make about individual sports, how the athletes get paid, like MMA, like soccer, like golf, is that these athletes know, because I actually have the TGL, Top Golf League, behind me. These athletes are starting to learn that they are the reason why people tune into the product. Individual sports are not like team sports. Team sports, you are a fan of the team more than the athlete. And the NBA is the only exception where the people care more about the athlete than they care about the team. But the majority of individual sports, these athletes are realizing people are tuning in for them, right? It's the idea that the only reason why people gave a darn about the Australian Open was because Novak Djokovic was in it, or it was because fill in the blank, whoever you want to root for, right? Sloane Stephens of the U.S. or whatever. No one really cares about Madison Keys. She's not really that popular. But there's a lot of men and women in the tennis world, a lot of men and women in the golf world, a lot of men and women in the soccer world, a lot of men and women in the mixed martial arts world. These are the catalysts for viewership. And so now it's on the sport and the network they're partnered with to build them up and promote them. ESPN has done a great job of promoting this Top Golf League because what they're doing is they're saying, you know who Hideki Matsuyama is, you know who Tiger Woods is, you know who Rory McIlroy is. Come on in, watch our product. And they are, right? So the problem for MLS and Apple Plus is how are they going to draw people to sign up for something that they used to get for free? Well, so far it has been a mixed bag for MLS and Apple Plus because Apple Plus has not fully made the money back yet from MLS. They're hoping this year and next year they can build on that. But Apple Plus is outsmarting the MLS. The MLS is completely dependent on Apple Plus. Apple Plus is saying, we're not putting all of our eggs into your basket. What they're saying is, we have shows like Severance. We have shows like Ted Lasso. We have all of these movies coming to our platform. They are trying to recreate the HBO model from 25 years ago, which is you want the best shows, you want the best movies, you got to get the premier channel, HBO. So they're trying to turn themselves into that property because HBO, it was a bonus that you had the boxing. It was a bonus that you had all those great sports documentaries. But the real catalyst that brought you into HBO, what got you in the door 20, 25 years ago, it was The Sopranos. It was all of these exclusive shows you couldn't get anywhere else. So Apple Plus is putting all their money into that basket. The MLS is going to turn into a bonus product for them, like boxing was a bonus product for HBO. Excuse me. So that's what's going on with that, Jeff. So it's the idea that in the sports world, you, the fan, have to understand that the only thing that's paying the athlete and the leagues to cover expenses of what is in that collective bargaining agreement is the television money. Everything else pays for other stuff. So if you want to force the NBA, if you want to force the networks into making changes, you got to say, I'm not buying tickets. I'm not paying for parking. I'm not going to pay for your streaming platform. You just saw Jeff's comment earlier. He says, I can't watch games on YouTube or Peacock. So what's Jeff going to do? He's not going to pay the rate to watch Peacock. He's not going to pay the rate to watch YouTube TV. And what's going to happen is we are going to hit a breaking point. It's going to be like a dot-com bubble 25 years ago. At some point, there's just going to be such an oversaturation in streaming content, in media, that these entities are going to fold or merge together. And you're starting to see the initial, how do I put it? The initial suggestions of that, because what's being advertised? Well, you can bundle Disney Plus and Hulu and Max all together. Hold on, those are competing companies, but you can bundle them all together because the sports leagues are understanding that they're dependent on the networks, and the networks understand that people want convenience. You want your macaroni and cheese in a minute or less, or you don't want it. You're less concerned about quality than you are about getting what you want. It doesn't matter if your electric car is as good as Tesla. You just want your electric car, right? You don't care if your pizza is as good as the other place. You just want it fast as possible, right? So until you start paying for quality over quantity, so you start paying for quality over just getting what you want as soon as possible, that's when change is going to happen. And eventually people are going to stop paying for some of this stuff. And you're already seeing it. It's the reason why platforms like Tubi and Pluto TV are gaining subscribers, because they're a free platform. And what people are saying is, why am I going to pay for YouTube TV or Xfinity or Dish or DirecTV to watch commercials when I can get the same product for free? You can watch television, anything you want, on Pluto TV and Tubi and all these platforms for free. Yeah, you have commercials, but you're not paying a cent for it. And that's what Fox owns Tubi. Paramount CBS, who owns Pluto TV, that's what they're preparing for. That is where the rub is for Peacock and Xfinity. That is where the rub is for Disney that owns Hulu, is that eventually those two are going to have to learn what the other two already learned. Is that you can't make your product so exclusive that nobody's willing to pay for it. Peacock will fail first, because they're the lowest on the rung right now. Disney Plus is being held up by the geeks like me who love Marvel and Star Wars, and all the parents, all the parents who want their kids to watch all those Disney cartoons, right? The movies like Mona and Lilo and Stitch and Disney princesses and all that stuff. Disney Plus is fine. Amazon is fine because they got a built-in audience. Netflix is fine because they're the biggest name on the planet when it comes to just exclusive streaming. And YouTube TV, if you pay for the premium, it's more than worth it. Because what people don't understand is why YouTube is outpacing Netflix right now is because YouTube is doing for viewers what Amazon is doing for viewers. They're saying, but wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. Because if you have YouTube Premium, you also get YouTube Music, you get YouTube Podcasting. You get YouTube plethora of options. For example, me streaming right here on my YouTube channel. It's because me and my family pay for YouTube Premium that my YouTube Studio access is customizable. And I can do this stream with you guys here on my YouTube channel. So please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and appreciate all the money I'm spending on this stupid thing. No, but seriously, YouTube has done a great job at creating we're giving you everything you want and more. Right? So people are saying, why would I pay for Spotify when I can just go to YouTube Music? Because YouTube Music is a part of the YouTube channel. That's what Amazon Prime is doing. Amazon Prime is saying, I'm going to give you not just part 1, but part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where the world is going. You cannot just offer subscribers and users just one pathway for what they're paying for. You got to give them multiple things, okay? It's the idea of, why would I ever pay for anything if I'm not getting an extra benefit out of it? That's the world we're moving into. So Xfinity and Peacock are losing that war because they think that you are stupid enough to just pay for that and be done with it. And more users are saying, nah, not doing that. If you can't differentiate yourself, you're going to lose the battle. The only reason why Max is still staying afloat is because they have these exclusive rights to some of these properties because of Universal Studios and NBC. So, not NBC, Warner Brothers. So eventually, though, they're going to have to, someone's going to merge somewhere, whether it's Max and Peacock, whether it's Max and Netflix, or whether it's Peacock and Amazon. Eventually, we're going to get less and less. It's kind of like how 25 years ago, remember, we had all kinds of cell phone options, right? You know, you had your AT&T, you had your Sprint, you had your T-Mobile. Before all that, the long distance characters, you had MCI, right? You had all these different people who were moving into the wireless space, right? And then what happened is the whole industry shrunk and then it re-expanded. Because now what's going on is that you have your main carriers, okay? T-Mobile and Sprint merged. Verizon has absorbed a couple different platforms. AT&T has absorbed a couple different platforms. For example, Boost is technically owned by AT&T. And Metro PCS, Metro Mobile, is owned by T-Mobile, right? And so all of these smaller, cheaper platforms are all owned by the bigger company. And then you have people like Mint Mobile and others who piggyback off of Xfinity Mobile is the same thing. They piggyback off of somebody else. So instead of a world where every cell carrier owned their own towers, now they're just kind of like a part of each other, or they're bouncing off of each other. So now you're seeing the same thing in streaming, where it expanded to the point where we are losing value. It's going to eventually re-shrink down. And if you are somebody who says, well, why does my Disney Plus and my Hulu not function as well as my Amazon Prime? Well, it's because Disney and Hulu is struggling to maintain their app platforms functionality because they're stretched so thin. So that's why eventually they merge. And while companies like Peacock may have a very high functioning platform, nobody cares because they want what they want. Peacock had a huge opportunity when they had WWE. They lost it. Now it's on Netflix, and Netflix is benefiting greatly from it, okay? Netflix is already in the first quarter saw an increase in subscribers, right? So that's the way the world is going. Sports are funded by the streaming. They're funded by the networks. They're funded by the advertisers. They're not funded by you. So at the end of the day, they don't care about you. They care about where the money's coming from. So now the only opportunity you have to impact your team, your organization, your fandom is by going to, I don't want to have a season ticket package anymore. I'm not going to pay for parking. I'm not going to go to the game. I'm not going to pay for all these streaming platforms. I'm going to cut. And eventually the well is going to start drying up. And then the NBA, who's been promised $76 billion over 10 years, NBC/Xfinity Universal, it's all one company. Where do they get the money from? It's not from you, because you stop paying them, right? You stop giving them money. Turner Sports, they're paying for all kinds of sports properties, still baseball, hockey, everything. Paying them billions of dollars. Where do they get the money from? Well, if you're not giving it to Max and all the streaming and all the networks, you cut your cable, you cut your YouTube TV, you cut your Max, you cut your Peacock, you just stop paying for all of it. Eventually, because their egos are too big, they're not going to make their prices cheaper. They're eventually have to merge with somebody. And that's what you have to wait for. You know, back in the day, I always wanted an Nextel phone. I couldn't have it. Why? Because it was expensive. Eventually, the walkie-talkie technology was outpaced by these smartphones. We can't live without these smartphones anymore. Why? Because they started merging. They started consolidating. And they re-expanded out. And now you have to make sure you just have a quality cell phone and it works. Quality network character and it works. Same thing that happens with streaming. And if you're a sports fan, if you want to tell the networks no, that's your prerogative. But you got to tell them no. Because if you don't tell them no, they're taking advantage of you. All right, I've gone on way too long. I need to finish my work and go to the gym. So thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Tell folks that you're going to get real sports talk right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, 97.3 ESPN FM. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.